She was married for 7 years before she realized her husband had no heartbeat. This is a story that the elders of Ìgbójì village in the deep heart of Yorubaland still whisper about when the moon refuses to shine. They lower their voices when they tell it. They look over their shoulders. Because some stories, they say, carry the very thing they describe. Sit down. Be still. And whatever you do, do not call any name 3 times before this story ends. Her name was Adunola. And from the moment she was born, the women of her village said she was too beautiful for this world. Not in the way people say it carelessly, the way a mother says it to make her daughter feel special. No, the elder women said it the way a doctor delivers a diagnosis. Carefully, quietly, with their eyes carrying a weight their mouths could not fully speak. Adunola's mother, Mama Bisi, had noticed it too. When her daughter walked through the market, traders forgot what they were selling. When she laughed, it sounded like water finding its way over smooth stones, effortless, musical, impossible to ignore. When she looked at you, truly looked at you, it felt like being chosen by something you didn't fully understand. By the time Adunola was 22, she had refused 14 men. Not because she was arrogant. Not because she was difficult. But because she felt nothing. She would sit across from a suitor, a doctor, a teacher, a wealthy trader from Lagos, and she would smile politely, pour his palm wine carefully, and feel absolutely nothing inside her chest. No flutter. No warmth. No pull. Her father, Chief Adebayo, was beginning to worry. Adunola, he called her one evening as the sun bled orange and red across the sky. A river that refuses to flow eventually dries up. What are you waiting for? She sat beside him on the carved wooden bench outside their compound and looked at the horizon for a long time before she answered. I am waiting for the one who makes me feel like I'm already home, Baba. I will know him when I see him. Her father said nothing, but he exchanged a look with her mother that carried 14 years of worry in a single glance. It was during the Adunola festival, the great festival of iron and strength held at the edge of the village every harvest season, that Adunola first saw Kunal. He was standing at the far end of the celebration, separate from the crowd, watching the drummers with an expression she had never seen on a man's face before. It wasn't excitement. It wasn't boredom. It was something deeper. Something like memory. Like a man watching something he had seen in another life. He was tall. His skin was the color of dark mahogany wood, deep and rich and smooth. He wore a simple white agbada that somehow looked more elegant than every embroidered outfit around him. And when the crowd shifted and his eyes found hers across the distance, Adunola felt it. For the first time in 22 years, her chest did what she had been waiting for it to do. It moved. She looked away quickly, her heart running faster than her dignity liked. When she looked back, he was walking toward her. Slowly, unhurried. Like a man who had already decided the outcome. You are looking at me like you know me, he said when he reached her. His voice was low, smooth. It settled into the air around her like something that had always been there. I don't know you, she said. Not yet, he replied. And he smiled. His name, he told her, was Kunal. He said he was from Arfin, a town 3 hours away by road. He said he was a craftsman, that he worked with wood and metal, that he had traveled to the festival to trade. He was charming without trying to be. Warm without being eager. He listened to her the way most men never did, fully, without waiting for his turn to speak. By the end of the festival, Adunola knew. This was the one. Kunal came back the following weekend. And the weekend after that. He brought small gifts, a carved wooden bird, a bracelet made from dark beads, a small pot of shea butter infused with herbs that smelled like rain on dry earth. In the many months Kunal visited, Adunola realized she had never seen him actually eat. He would sit at meals. He would lift food. He would go through the motions. But she never once saw him chew and swallow in the way people do when food is actually entering a body. When she mentioned it once, laughing, making it a joke, he smiled and said he ate slowly, that he had a small appetite. They married 14 months after they met. The wedding was the grandest Ìgbójì village had seen in a generation. That night, as they lay in their new home together, Adunola lay on her side and listened. She listened for his breathing. She waited. And waited. The room was completely silent. She turned slowly and looked at her husband lying beside her. His chest was still. His eyes were closed. His face was peaceful. She reached out and placed her hand gently on his chest. And felt nothing. No rise. No fall. No rhythm of a living thing. Her own heart lurched. She pressed harder, panic beginning to snake up from her stomach. She leaned close to his face, close enough to feel breath on her cheek if there was any to feel. There was none. "Colonel," she whispered. And so began 7 years of marriage to a dead man. In the 3rd year, she became pregnant. When she told Colonel, something happened to his face that she would spend years trying to describe, like a man who had been holding his breath for a very long time finally exhaling. "A child," he said quietly. "Good. This is good." The pregnancy was difficult. Adunola was sick often. She lost weight. She had strange dreams, vivid, relentless dreams of dark roads and crossroads and a market that existed at midnight where the traders all wore white and never spoke. She would wake from these dreams gasping, reaching for Colonel, and he would be there, sitting upright in the dark, and he would hold her until the shaking stopped. The baby was born on a rainy season night when lightning split the sky every few minutes and the thunder came in long, rolling waves. A boy. They named him Io, joy. But Io would not stop crying. For the first 6 weeks of his life, the baby cried constantly. Not the hunger cry or the discomfort cry that new mothers learn to. Something else. A high, desperate, inconsolable cry that exhausted everyone around it. And then Adunola noticed something that broke something open inside her. The baby only stopped crying when Colonel was not in the room. The moment Colonel left, walked outside, went to the other end of the house, Aya would go quiet. Not just quiet. Peaceful. Adunola started watching. Really watching. The way a woman watches when she has decided to stop explaining things away and simply observe. She began keeping a small notebook, hidden under the mat in the kitchen, where she wrote down everything she noticed. Date by date. Detail by detail. She wrote about the cold hands that never warmed no matter how long she held them. She wrote about the food that was lifted but never consumed. She wrote about the sleeping that wasn't sleeping but something else entirely, that deep, still, breathless horizontal stillness that had no rhythm, no movement, no life in it. She wrote about the day she cut her finger on a kitchen knife and Colonel rushed to her side and held her bleeding hand, and that she saw, for just a half second before he composed himself, something pass across his face. Not concern. Not worry. Hunger. A raw, terrible hunger that was gone so fast she almost doubted she had seen it. Almost. She wrote about the fact that in 4 years of marriage, Colonel had not aged. Not a line. Not a grey hair. Not a single mark of time on his face. While the years had settled softly on Adunola's face, the good lines of a life being lived, her husband looked exactly as he had at the festival where they met. As if time did not apply to him. And she wrote about what happened in the 5th year, the thing she had never told anyone, not even her mother. The evening she had gone looking for Colonel's family documents because she needed them for a land registration, and in searching through his old traveling bag, she had found a photograph. Old. Faded. The image of a group of men standing in formal dress outside what looked like a government building. Her eyes moved across the faces. And stopped. Second from the left. Tall. Dark mahogany skin. White outfit. Same face. Same exact face. She flipped the photograph over. Written on the back in fading ink were names. And a date. 1987. She was looking at a photograph of her husband, the same husband sleeping in her bed, taken 38 years ago. A man who did not age. A man who did not breathe in sleep. A man who did not eat. A man whose touch was the temperature of grave soil. A man whose own infant son could not stop screaming in his presence. Adunola sat on the floor of the room for a very long time. And for the first time in 5 years of marriage, she allowed herself to finish the thought she had been refusing to complete. She was not living with a man. She was living with something that wore the face of a man. Something that had come to the festival that night with a purpose. Something that had watched her across the crowd and decided, in the way that certain things decide, that she was what it needed. The door to the room opened. Colonel stood in the doorway. He looked at her sitting on the floor. He looked at her fist. And for the first time in 5 years of marriage, his face showed something she had never seen before. He was not smiling. "Adunola," he said quietly. "We need to talk." The truth he had been holding for 7 years was not the worst part of the story. The worst part was what he asked her to.